I travel a lot for work. I find myself as far as 140, 180 miles away down in like Stamford, Connecticut for work. Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. My sister lives up in Maine, and I hate being a couple hundred miles away from home. That's just the worst feeling. The bag that's going with me has got to sustain me for probably up to 3 days to get me home. I'm figuring if there's some big catastrophic event, I need 3 days. I made an identical bag for my wife. My son and my daughter are getting ones that are a little bit more because my son's gonna gung-ho get home from UNH. My daughter, I don't know what she's gonna do in San Francisco. But anyway, so I'm gonna run through this and my philosophy. I'm gonna do this quick. So my philosophy with a get-home bag, this is a computer backpack because I feel like me coming out of Cambridge, which is where I am a lot of the times, I don't wanna look all tactical. I wanna draw as little attention to myself. I'm usually wearing a suit. So I have a backpack that looks like everybody else in Cambridge has. If I was coming out of Cambridge with one of our cool camo backpacks, I'm definitely gonna kind of stand out, absolutely.
Camo's the new black.
I carry, what's that?
Camo's the new black.
Absolutely. I got a nice little red one for my daughter, you know, a little kind of cool paisley or plaid looking red thing. But so what do I have in here? I got all the basics covered. I got food, water, and shelter, and medical. That's basically the where I needed to cover. And you've probably all heard the philosophy, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So I have some redundancy in here. I was running through things with my daughter last night. She's like, well, you don't need both of those. And I said, yeah, you do, because what if one breaks, or if one loses, or if you lose one, or if one doesn't work? You gotta have some backup. So I don't have complete redundancy with everything, but close. So I basically tried to group my stuff in here in sort of categories. I'm gonna put it out and stick it back in the same pockets as I go. So in this little outer pocket, I have just a little hand rag, and I have a couple of Sharpies, and I have a notepad and a pen. So I can make notes for myself, but I can also write things on my hand, or like in a triage situation, you can write information on people. You can write information on signs if you needed to write on cars, windows, whatever. Sharpies are a pretty cool thing to have. And unfortunately, with my 46-year-old eyes, I need freaking reading glasses if I was going to look at a map or anything. And I was so excited when I found these at Ocean State Job Lot for $2.99 freaking cents. Paid $25 for this identical pair at CVS. Ridiculous. So anyway, my estimated cost for this whole bag, not including the backpack, because this is a backpack that's from my kid, and when I opened it up to clean it out, there were crushed Pop-Tarts in the pocket. So it'd been sitting in my basement with crushed Pop-Tarts in it. So total estimated cost for all this stuff, minus the backpack, is somewhere around like $120. So you don't have to do it all at once, but you can certainly acquire most of this stuff through Amazon and Walmart and CVS, I think is probably where most of this stuff came from. In this next packet, I have a box of ammo and I have a spare magazine for my gun. I usually have a spare magazine with me, but this is an additional loaded magazine, and I vacuum sealed this just to protect it from humidity. So this is going to live, and I can't bring this in most places with me when I go into a lot of the buildings I work in, so this will be in my car. If my car's at Alewife, I've already mapped out how I could get from wherever I am back to Alewife where my car is, and it's about 5 miles. So I'm going to be hoofing it with just whatever I can grab. Who was talking about the stores? John was talking about stores nearby, and I may always have some cash on me, and figured I could grab some water out of one of the convenience stores if it's some like 9/11 scenario. I picked up some fire starters. This is awesome. We used it this weekend when we were camping. I don't even know what it is. It's a granular fire starter. There's a whole bunch of it in here, but it weighs basically nothing. I got 10 bags of this for somewhere around like $20, I think. Pretty cool. So everybody's getting some of this. Again, 2 is 1 and 1 is none, and I've got multiple ways to start fires. You'll see that as we go. Duct tape. Old credit card, takes up a hell of a lot less space than a big roll of duct tape. This is about 20 or 30 feet of duct tape. Some zip ties. A knife. This is an $8 knife from Amazon. I just went on and I bought 4 of them. It's got a glass breaker, a can opener, or a bottle opener, and a pretty decent blade for $8. So not bad. So just picking up these for everybody so that I'm not using my good stuff and having good stuff in different places. I've got some extras. Compass. Flashlight. I have 2 flashlights. And let me tell you, I have never seen a deal on flashlights like these. These are from eBay or Amazon, and they are somewhere around $2 a piece, and a multi-tool. That's all that's in here. So these flashlights are single AA battery. The first one I bought just to see if it was worth it has a programmable switch, so it works very much like a tactical flashlight. It has a strobe and multiple modes. And I went back to the same exact guy and I bought 20 more of them. And I don't know why this one isn't working. It worked last night. So this may be a lesson. Exactly. We had, out of the 20, we had 2 where the switches didn't work. So it might just be the switch. But to have a flashlight that uses a single battery and it focuses as well, it's really bright. And because it uses only a single AA battery, if you have rechargeable batteries and a way to recharge them, you can do that as well. But you can also have a bunch of extra batteries. So I need to check the switch on this one. But so that's one of the sources of light.
Chad, not a bad idea to cover those ends of the battery with tape where they go against each other?
Yeah, I thought about that. I've never had a problem. I never do it with AA's. I mean, with I always do it with 9 volts, but I've never had a problem with these. But I suppose they could run down. Yeah.
If you tape them all the same direction, like make a block out of them,
Yep.
then they have no chance to run down.
Okay.
So,
Good tip. There's been that post making the rounds on social media of the fires that are starting from people throwing 9-volt batteries in their drawers. I don't know if you've seen that.
Did you see, take steel wool on a 9-volt battery and get a fire going with that?
Well, I've seen where they take a gum wrapper and any battery basically, and you cut that little thin strip, and it will.
The thinner the metal, the easier it is to heat up. And,
yeah. In here, water bottle, a pot loaded with stuff. I'll show you what's in there. Moleskin. I picked up this crazy roll of waterproof moleskin for $2.38, I think, at Walmart. It's amazing. If you guys have never used moleskin before, if you've been hiking, you get a blister. You can only imagine me walking from Cambridge if I didn't have, if I couldn't get to my car, or if I had my work shoes on. Moleskin will save your life. You can't even believe what a great thing that is when you've got a blister on your foot. Anybody here ever experienced it? Amazing. That's worth its weight. Walmart, I think I got this, yeah. And then an Ace bandage, candle, and some food in this. I'll run through each of these as I put them back in here. So in this main package, this is an IFAK. It's not one of the military ones. I bought a first aid kit at Walmart for $15. It comes in a little soft pouch, and it's loaded with everything from the little spider, what do they call those? Butterfly bandages to regular bandages, gauze, disinfectant wipes, antibiotic cream, Neosporin, aspirin, tweezers, nail clippers, everything. And I packed it all in here. And then I added some additional stuff. So kind of basic first aid stuff. There's another flashlight in here. There's a little bit of wire that you could use for building a shelter or fixing a backpack or making a, what do they call that? A garrote. A garrote. Making some snares. There's an ice pack in here. A whole bottle of aspirin and Actifed and Tylenol and ibuprofen. Tweezers. Some tongue depressors for splints. A little bit of paracord. Another little mini multi-tool. 2 is 1, 1 is none. Whole bunch more of like aspirin and alcohol wipes and all the stuff that came out of the first aid kit. It's mostly just first aid kit stuff in there. And then in here, a space blanket and another little notepad and pen and a whole bunch of Band-Aids. And a couple more lighters. And the little first aid sheet that came with the first aid kit from Walmart. So I've got about 4, 5, 6 lighters in here total. And for $4, not that you would necessarily be using this in a get home scenario, but pretty awesome to have a little signal mirror. This is about $4 at Walmart. All right, then we have in here water filtration. We showed that little filter last week, or when we did the water purification class, the Sawyer. It's about $18 or $19 on Amazon or at Walmart, but I found a 4-pack on Amazon for $64. So it was 16 bucks for this whole kit. And this little filter does 100,000 gallons before it needs to be replaced. It works very similar to a life straw, but life straws are only good for about, what do they say?
150 to 200.
150 or 200 gallons. The cool thing about this one, it screws right onto your standard water bottle. So like your little screw right onto the top of this. So you can fill this up, you can drink right from there. It also comes with a pouch, and it comes with a little hypodermic type syringe so that you can back flush it if it starts to get clogged. But this for 16 bucks does 100,000 gallons of water. And 100,000 gallons of water is a boatload of water.
That's enough for your 3-day trip.
It would get me home probably.
You can buy that at Walmart?
Yeah, the 4, you can get it at Walmart. It's about $19. I bought a 4-pack because I told you I'm making 4 of these bags for $64 on Amazon. So only 16 bucks a piece.
What was the brand name of it?
It's a Sawyer.
Sawyer?
It's a Sawyer Mini.
Sawyer Mini?
Yep. So it comes with the little pouch.
It goes down to a really small micron too.
It does like .01 or .2. 0.2.
You should filter it through something, a cloth or something first. Then
If it's really dirty, if you can filter out or quickly with a piece of clothing or something to get a lot of the dirt out, so it doesn't clog up the filter. But this will filter out basically 99% of all. It's not going to filter viruses, but in a scenario, how much do we really need to worry about that? Trying to get home. 2 is 1, 1 is none. I have this little set of pills. Again, I think I got a 4-pack from Amazon.
Is it Iodine Pills?
There's Iodine's the 2-part one. So you put the first one in there, 30 minutes roughly, you shake it up, and then you can put the second one in there, which binds up the iodine so it doesn't taste like iodine.
The only thing you gotta be careful though, if you have a thyroid problem, you might want to avoid those.
And the shellfish allergy.
So there are 2 ways for me to get water. I can fill this up if I have those. If I stop at a convenience store or something on the way home, I can do that. Light sticks, I've got 4 glow sticks in here. This is just they came as a big bulk package and they weren't in light proof or like they usually store them. This is just one of my Mylar food bags, so I got 4 glow sticks in there in addition to the candle. So we've got multiple ways, aside from this crappy flashlight, we need to check that. We've got the bunch of spare batteries, a candle, and the glow sticks. This was 69 cents at Walmart. Pretty nice. I mean, it definitely can make you feel a hell of a lot better. If you're on day 2 on your way home, you can at least brush your teeth. Absolutely.
That's what Johnny Walker's for.
Yeah, I don't have any of that. We need to put that on the list. A couple of Johnny Walker nips.
Bladder.
Exactly, yeah. Hand sanitizer. We did the Gauze and the Ace Bandage. And then food. So I'm looking at a 2 to 3 day thing. I definitely want to have some energy to get home. I'm not going to starve obviously in 3 days, but being able to get some warm food or something would be pretty nice. This is what they call their Pro Pack, and you pay $1 more for less volume of food, but also it's much smaller, kind of cool, tight package. I thought I might also just slit this open and vacuum seal this myself. If you've never eaten these, they're pretty awesome. For $5 or $6 to throw a couple of these in your bag if you have a way to boil some water on the way home. I'll show you the stove. I actually used it this weekend on our camping trip. I wanted to try it so I can tell you guys how it worked. And we ate sweet and sour pork, and all the kids were fighting over who got to have some. It was that good. I mean, you're camping, everything tastes better when you're camping, but for $5, it's pretty cheap. It weighs nothing, and you can just stuff it right in your pack.
One quick point on those.
What's that?
One quick point on those. For those, you have to have fresh water. If you get MREs, you don't have to have
Correct.
fresh water to.
Correct. Yeah, so you obviously need to boil it. So, even if it's dirty, if you boil it, it's going to be safe and it'll work in here. And you literally, if you've never made these, you rip this open, there's a Ziploc tab below this tear strip. pour the water in there. Most of these are somewhere around 2/3 of a cup of water. And you can pick this up. I got this again on Amazon, I think. One of these little fuel tabs in here boiled this in about 8 minutes. This much water, you just pour it right in there. I shook it up. I didn't even have a spoon when I did it. I shook it up and I zip-locked it. I sat it there. A couple minutes later, I went and I shook it up again. And it says let it sit for about 8 minutes, and it was awesome. Very quick, warm, delicious.
Real quick on those fuel tabs, you don't want to really touch them with your bare skin.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're made of.
I don't either. I just read in a lot of places those fuel tabs could actually harm your skin.
Yeah, so when I opened them, I just slit with the knife and I just dumped it out into the bottom of the stove. I'll show you how that worked. So these are awesome. In addition to this, I'm trying to think how much these were. $9 maybe. I read the reviews of a whole bunch of different ones. This is Grizzly Bear. It says it tastes like a lemon cookie, and it is 400 calories per square.
Wow.
So that's a lot, and it's good for up to 5 years, up to 140 degrees. So this is going to be fine in your trunk, in and out of your car, and it will sustain you. Pretty cheap insurance to even if this is all you have, to help you get home for 3 days.
Is that a real grizzly bear?
Yeah, I think there's grizzly bear in here. So that's the food. I saw this cool tool. You know when you're on Amazon and you start clicking on things and then all the suggested items show up? How freaking cool is this thing? This actually has a can opener. I have a couple of GI can openers, but this is also a can opener. It's got little wrenches, it's got a bottle opener, and it's a spoon. It's a spork too, which is pretty cool. And I think this was $7. It's one of those little impulse things that shows up at the bottom of your related products on Amazon. These guys are freaking geniuses. But when all that shit starts showing up on your Facebook page, all the shit you've been looking at, that's a little curious. These, awesome. I think in a pinch, you could probably boil water in this if you needed to. But with all the multiple ways of filtration, that's not really a concern of mine. I am thinking that I may fill this up and calculate the bleach and do like the little drop of bleach in here so this is sterile, and then it will be fine in my car. Everything that I've read says you really shouldn't have water in these long term in your car when it's getting hot and everything. It's not going to hurt you, I think, if you're drinking it on the way home, but as a habit, probably not a good idea. But this way I would always have some water with me in the vehicle and not have to worry about that. Winter would be a challenge. I've heard some people say that they actually keep 5 or 6 waters in their vehicle in a cooler and it doesn't freeze in the wintertime. I don't know how true that is. I would think that eventually it would get down to that temperature in there. So this was in the little first aid kit. I got to stuff that back in there. Put this in here, as well as the little flashlight. So this was $10. And it's pretty amazing. So we use this as a cover. We set up the little stove, and I boiled this much water. It took 2.5 tablets to boil this much water. It took about 18 minutes to boil. But this stove is one of these little Esbit stoves, and I think this is about $10. Just sits there like that. These little fuel tabs, just slit them open. It sits right in the bottom there. So like Kevin was saying, you shouldn't really touch them with your hands. Here is, I think, another 6 extra ones. No, it says there's 20 of them in here, so they must be a little smaller than this. I bet these are, what would that be?
I think a lot of those Esbits, so if you find them on eBay, actually come with about 6 tablets.
Yeah, it came with 6.
Included.
Came with 6 in the package, and then I bought some extras.
Like how can you burn like one tablet will boil water, one tablet?
One tablet would boil this much water, so this would take care of your meal. It took 2.5 to boil this much. Like when it went out, I just stuck another one on there and lit it again, and obviously keep it covered. Boils a hell of a lot faster when you cover it. So that was pretty cool. Pack of razor blades, a little GI can opener. If you guys have never used these, I used to play with these all the time when I was little. I used to love using these. My dad was in the military and he always had these kicking around. So I just picked up I think about 10 of these for $1.50 or something ridiculous on Amazon. A couple more lighters, some stormproof, waterproof matches with a striker built into the thing, and for additional fire, these are Vaseline saturated cotton balls, just in an empty pill bottle.
Dryer lint is good for that too.
Dryer lint too. Yeah, dryer lint, and I've heard like candle wax on dryer lint, and you can basically kind of make it in like ice cube tray or in a cookie sheet and then cut it into pieces and have little squares. And then this is more wire. I picked this up at Michael's. This is like craft wire, like the people make flowers and wreaths with. This is a ton of wire. This stuff is awesome. Again, snares, fixing packs, making the garrotes or whatever they're called, whatever you needed to do with this.
That might even be thin enough to use with a battery as well for that.
Yeah, this is pretty thin and, you know, stronger than most of the rope. So a couple more things. We'll set this aside, I'll put that back together in a minute. So the last packet, the pocket on this pack is where the laptop would go. And so what I stuffed in the back, a roll of toilet paper, 50 feet of paracord, a couple more space blankets, a big 50 by 80 tarp, poncho, and this was $2.50 or something at Walmart. These were a 10 pack for like $5 or something on Amazon. I bought 1,000 feet of this for $39 on MrParacord.com. Pair of work gloves. I mean, if you're building a shelter or making a fire or something like that, the last thing you want to do is get cuts on your hands. And a tarp. This is an 8 by 10 tarp. Again, a 4-pack on Amazon. I want to say this is about $6 or something. So, paracord,
Is that it?
tarp. That's it.
Flag on the play. You don't have a fixed blade knife in there.
I do not. Good call. You guys that have your bags here, you want to share some of your stuff?
These are really individual things that you kind of have to think of as a system as well as your own personal welfare. For instance, I didn't care about the tactical features of being hidden or anything else like that. I just bought a bag that was rugged. I knew I could take it with me on just little trips. I decided to park the truck for a weekend and throw a hammock up in the woods and just get away from it for a couple hours. So even though this is really designed as a 72-hour sustainment kit, this is only my 3-season bag. So one of the things that people don't think about typically for bug out bags is that you have to adjust them per season. So for the summer, for my water and things like that, I use hydration bladders, stuff like that. That'll freeze in the winter. So when I transition from this bag into the winter months, I'll actually change it to a much larger bag that'll go from 40 pounds to 50 pounds. That'll have my full winter sleeping bag in it. I will have steel water bottles in there instead of a regular bladder, because I can just take those, put them next to the fire, they'll warm up, boil, get rid of the ice in them, everything else, or I can scoop stuff into them once the good water's gone. I can purify it with that. So you just really kind of have to think about your seasonality as well as, you know, how much weight you're going to carry. For instance, I hike with this all the time, so this 40 pounds does not bother me. This is kind of maximum for this kind of bag, simply because there's no frame in it. If you have a frameless bag, usually you're running the gambit between 40 and 50 pounds, maxing out what the weight on the bag is, just because you don't get a lot of good back support on it. Fortunately, this one has some really good padding in it, so it's not really a problem. But again, cinching it up on your shoulders, not used to carrying that kind of weight, you're probably going to have some back issues after a while. So if you're going to go heavy on that, I would think about getting a framed bag. I have a rather obnoxious shovel on here, simply because this stays in my truck at all times. So if I need to dig myself out of a small mess that I got myself into with the truck, I have something that can actually dig out a tire or whatever I need to do. You know, again, this may be weight that you don't wish to carry. I keep a full set of wet weather gear outside. This is actually a top and bottom set from Coleman's that I got at Walmart, as well as an army poncho in it that I can actually use to rig up as a very small shelter. So there's just all sorts of different things that you can consider. So feel free to read over that document, kind of use it as idea fodder. I'm not one to just give somebody a shopping list and say, go buy all the same stuff I did, because it's not right for you. I've been in outdoors for a long time. I was 6 years in the infantry, Eagle Scout. I camp constantly. You know, I'm going to have a much tighter skill set for that stuff than somebody who doesn't do all those things. They may want to bring more stuff or less stuff. It's on them. So I do have an inventory sheet in every single one of my bags that I produce. This is something that I do to keep track of my sanity, because to be honest with you, once I started building this bag about 4 years ago, I pretty much edited, changed, redacted, done something to it on a bi-monthly basis ever since. I can honestly say I have no idea what's in the bag as far as specific pockets. These things save your life. This is something that I just did in PowerPoint. You don't have to be this creative, but I think putting an actual image of the bag on there, throwing some numbers on your different pockets, and then just typing up the inventory and keeping it there makes a lot of sense. The other point that I do that is I can keep track of all the stuff that's going to expire in this bag. So if I have food or medicines or other things in there, and I want to check the inventory of the bag, I have a actual folder in my house with all this stuff as well. I can skip through that monthly, see when things are coming up for expirations, when they need to be replaced. That gives me the ability to manage on the fly. If I know if I need to go out and drive somewhere and pick up a bunch of stuff for this bag or that bag or the other bag, then I can do that. I tend to carry a little more stuff in here simply because this is going to be in the truck. So I'll have basically all the same stuff that Chad does, but I've gone to greater lengths to have a much more robust first aid kits and survival kits in here. This entire bag here is a first aid kit. This has got some more first aid stuff in here. I have things like SAM splints, which are a aluminum folding splint that can be used to immobilize basically any kind of issue you have with a broken ankle or an arm or something like that. Pull this guy out here. Basically, it's a foam pad with aluminum in it. And you can customize the shape to whatever you need to build yourself a splint. So if I wanted to splint this arm, let's say I had a break in my lower arm here, you can take this guy, make it into a V, put the arm in it, tape that around. Now it's completely immobilized because this has got a thin piece of aluminum on the inside, and it's not going to move until you bend it. So these are extremely cheap. You can probably get a 5 or 6 pack for $15, $20 on Amazon. I even have kits that come with the wrap itself, but quite frankly, any old wrap will do. Let's see.
I put grease in food, I think it makes it nice and rigid.
What's that?
I put that bead and then we use it on our hands a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, these are great. I mean, you can even cut them up into pieces if you needed to. So say you needed something for a finger, you could just cut a piece off and wrap it around and you're good. So they're really great. This is the primary first aid kit that I keep, and I just keep it in this waterproof bag here. This is just a bag that I got for free basically at Target after I bought a bunch of stuff, but it just happens to fit the bill for what it does in here. It just happens to fit in here perfectly. This has got all of your run-of-the-mill stuff in there, plus a couple of trauma bandages, because this is going to be my car. If I happen to see a car accident, something nobody's responded to yet, I do have pressure bandages and things in here that hopefully I can stop the bleeding on somebody who's, needs a couple more minutes just before the EMTs get there. Keep trauma shears in here in case you need to cut open some clothing or something to get at some other stuff, as well as a bunch of other medicines and things that were standard illness type medicines or pain medications, allergy pills, cold and flu season pills, stuff like that. So,
Probably wouldn't hurt to have some of the vinyl gloves inside here too.
what's that?
Medical gloves or vinyl.
Yeah, oh definitely, yeah. Yeah, I don't keep the sterile kind in there, but what I do is if I have to use those, then I would pull them out and throw some hand sanitizer on them, clean the gloves off, and go to work. But again, that all depends on how quickly you need to get to work too. So, I decided to go with headlamps instead of standard flashlights, simply because they're going to give you a hands-free option. I found a really nice one at Home Depot for about 17 bucks that runs on 3 AAA batteries. Has a really decent flood on it. Plus it has 3 smaller lights on it, so if you need to do any map reading or something like that, you're not flooding yourself out with too much light. It's a pretty good model for contractor grade. It's actually got a centerpiece in the head, so when you put it on, you don't have to worry about it constantly slipping down, which is some of the sideband models are. I've really gotten away from handheld flashlights because at the end of the day, you feel like an idiot when you wear it the first time, but it's so much more convenient to have your hands free to be able to work and do what you need to do. So I recommend anybody, if you're going to go looking for flashlights, start looking at headlamps. I wouldn't necessarily go to Cabela's or anything like that because they have ridiculous models that are made for backpackers that are 1 ounce and cost $60, but $17.
There's a Bushnell one at Walmart. I have 2 of them. I probably should just throw one in the bag. It's a 250 lumen headlamp with 3 different settings, 3 AAA batteries for $23.
Amazon's got some Energizer ones for like $7 or $8. I picked one up. You just got one too, right? Yeah.
I would say look at your maximum lumen output of the light before you get it. I would say anything about 100 lumens is going to be really bright. So as long as you've got a really bright big light and then maybe some map reading features where it knocks down to 20 or 30 lumens, you'll probably be okay. But anything less than 100 lumens, I would say, is probably not going to be a good idea. You can also use that for signaling as well.
The headlamp I have has a red light on it for night, for being able to see at night without blinding yourself. And it just gives you enough light to be able to walk around the campsite or whatever without.
Yeah, when I do a lot of night hiking, I actually just use the small red light on that.
Yeah.
And it's just enough for you to see where you're going, but it doesn't ruin your night vision in order to be able to look up the horizons.
Yeah, the Bushnell one has red and blue.
So when you turn it on,
3 settings of
the initial
light.
large function light comes on, and then you hit it again, and then you have the small function, and with the switch up top, you can change the different colors to work with it. So, not too bad. Again, you feel kind of stupid with it on the first time because you've got this big clunky thing in your hand, but once you go hands-free,
They're coming back. They're coming back in style.
I use them all the time.
Middle of the woods, I don't care.
Right.
So.
Who's gonna see you?
I found for a good fixed blade knife, the saw seal pop is actually a pretty decent knife. I wouldn't try to split any wood with this, but this is definitely going to be something that is going to be a little more robust than your standard multi-tool. I went a little bit further and got their Kydex tool, or excuse me, their Kydex sheet for it, which actually has a cutter tool built into it. You can cut paracord and things like that, and it has this small piece on here. I keep it covered just so it's a safety feature, but when the knife is in the sheath, you actually have a small cutting aperture in here to be able to take a cord and cut it. This was actually designed so, well, for those of you that don't know, when you parachute into water, you actually have a tremendous opportunity to drown with a parachute because you can't get to the surface. For all of those guys that do that, you have a knife that's going to be able to cut all that paracord and get it out of the way. So that was an extra feature that the SEAL teams wanted on this particular knife, and the company just ran with it. So I think I got this knife at Dick's probably about 5-10 years ago for about $50-60. One thing I do keep in here is a strobe. So this is actually a waterproof model, so I'll actually have to lick my finger and connect these two because this is meant to be in the water and actually get activated. This is what jumps the two across. So even if I had it on, it still wouldn't trigger until the water connected these two circuits. But that's, at the end of the day, if you're really lost in the woods and it's nighttime, you know the search and rescue people are out looking for you, if you turn one of these on, you're going to irritate every pilot within 15 miles because they're going to see it clear as day no matter where you are. So that was not bad for a $30 investment. Not saying everybody needs a strobe, but you know, if you've got small kids and they're going to be out hiking, why not? I also recommend everybody carry a folding saw. I'm not a big fan of axes because when I did a lot of survival stuff in the military, they purposely food deprived us, so we were only getting maybe 100, 200 calories a day if we were lucky. Trying to cut something with blunt force is really kind of ridiculous when you think about it. You're wasting a huge amount of calories, you're not getting a lot of work done. It's a lot easier to just simply do this, let the saw do the work. This is called a spend saw. And you can quickly put this together providing you don't lose the wing nut, which is the one thing that you really need to be careful of.
Been using those for years, hiking. The cool
Yeah,
thing they
these are
slide
great
right down the
because
side
they
of
fold
the
up into
pack.
themselves. They're not going to cut anything inside the bag. Drop this guy through here, drop this guy in here, and try not to cut yourself with the blade. Always a lot easier when nobody's looking. Anyways, this pin would come through here, and I would secure it with this wing nut here. That gives you a nice little 15-inch blade. There's actually a much larger one, but I decided I was just going to stick with this one. So, but that, I think, is worth its weight in gold. Let's say you got branches down on the side of the road or something like this. I actually used this last summer. I was hiking on a trail, and they had a tree that was hanging halfway into the trail. I decided to stop and use a UV and cut the tree off and push it out the side of the trail. So, but that way you don't have to worry about any sharp, blunt instruments going to be used against you as well in your bag. So, that's just something to saw you in half when you're not willing to stand there and take that.
That's a Sven.
Yeah, S-V-E-N.
Thank you.
like spending a.
Where'd you get it from?
I bought this off of Amazon. I want to say it was 25 bucks. I painted it and I actually added the non-slip skateboard tape to it to make it a little easier for me to hold on to when I'm using rubber gloves or something like that. But this is pretty stock. It's just red aluminum with unpainted aluminum on this piece here. So basically this is a little plastic thing that you can put 3 AAA or AA batteries into it, plug in any kind of USB device and charge it. I have this little phone kit set up for myself, so I have an additional car charger, a wall plug, as well as a set of headphones, but this is the actual Tune Juice thing. You basically push it apart, it becomes a battery case, and then you have a USB port here on the side. I think this was a little pricey because it's Griffin. I think it was about 35 bucks. But I thought this was a better solution than some of the other stuff that you have to charge and recharge. Because let's face it, when you get out in the woods, you're probably not going to be able to plug anything into any trees. You might as well just carry your AA's and AAA's that you need for your devices, and then start using this to tank off of whatever. So again, this is just a convenience thing. If your phone dies in the woods, you know, and there's no phone working or there's no network working, I guess it really doesn't matter. Again, prep for the emergencies you know you're going to have versus the ones that, you know, might be the end of the world situations where nothing you do is right, nothing you do is wrong.